Hello. Happy Memorial Day weekend. Really excited to have an extra day off. Hope you guys are too. Today I have a contemporary fiction book that's been around a little while, and I have a brand new, not yet released thriller that you're going to flip for. So I will get started in just a moment. Hello, Ryan. How's it going? So our school had a little parade yesterday with all the teachers, and it was so cool. It was nice to see people, and we have a really small school with, the teachers in both ends of the building. It's just one building for K to 12. So the parade had a bunch of high school teachers, junior high teachers, elementary teachers, and staff. It was just really cool. So I posted a story about it, but the whole time I was yelling people's names in excitement and glee. So I was kind of embarrassed afterwards. Oh, well. All right. So I'm going to get started talking about these books, and you can let me know if you've read the first one or if you want to read the second one, because it's epic. All right. So my first book is called Evvie Drake Starts Over. And I always thought this was Evie until I read the book. And her real name is Evelith, and she goes by Evie. And Evelith is actually a place in Minnesota. Her mother really liked it when they went there, so she named her daughter Evelith. Evelith. I can't say it. Anyway, so that's why her hunky baseball player refers to her as Minnesota in the book, which is swoon-worthy. Okay, so here we go. Evvie Drake. So Evvie Drake is the daughter of a lobsterman, and she lives in a seaside town of Maine, a small town. She was married to a well-respected doctor for a number of years. And everyone loved her husband, and she tried for years to ignore his angry outbursts, his yelling and slamming things and throwing things, and basically treating her like crap. And he's a jerk. He might be a really good doctor, but he treated his wife like crap. So emotional abuse, that's basically what it was. So after years of this emotional abuse, Evvie psychs herself up and she decides that she's going to leave. She doesn't really have a plan. She just knows that she needs to get out of there for her own sanity. So while he's on his way to work, she has her bag all packed up, and she's literally putting her suitcase in the car and getting ready to leave in the car. And she gets a phone call from the hospital where he works, that he's been in a bad accident, and they tell her she needs to come like right away. So long story short about that, her husband doesn't make it, which you find out right away. That's not a spoiler. And that leaves Evvie with a number of things. Well, first of all, she has a bunch of insurance money that she refuses to use because she's just standing on her principles, and she's a strong woman, wants to support herself. The other thing she's left with is the fact that she doesn't really feel much grief at his loss, or at the loss of her husband, because of the way he treated her, and the fact that she was going to leave kind of leaves her with a really guilty feeling, especially when all the other mourners and her husband's family are like, assuming that she's super upset. And the book doesn't handle this like in a way where it makes her seem mean or anything. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying she feels like she should have more grief, but she is kind of feeling some relief, and that makes her feel bad. And the last thing she's left with is a painfully empty big house, and it's more space than she needs. It even has an apartment built in, so a lot of times when her husband was being extremely rude, which was all the time, she would go sleep on the floor in the apartment and kind of try to find peace there. So her childhood best friend, Andy, they're like the best of friends, even though they're a guy and a girl. It can happen. It can work. They are living proof. So Andy is her best friend, and Andy comes over and asks her if one of his college buddies can come and live in her apartment and rent her apartment from her for a little while, which would help her make a little money since she's not working, and it would help his friend who's trying to get out of New York City and trying to stay out of the limelight from the media. So it just so happens that his college buddy is a major league pitcher, and his name is Dean Tenney. Dean is handsome but miserable, and also really charming. So Dean moves into this apartment. The problem is Dean was a pitcher. His pitching career has taken a nosedive because he's got the yips, I'm not a baseball person, so I had to ask about that, but I looked it up. And basically, he's a head case. That's what they call it, where like you've been doing this sport or this action in this sport for so long, and now all of a sudden you can't do it. So like he's been pitching his whole life, but now he can't pitch. Like he lines up to pitch and the ball goes haywire, like I would try to pitch, I guess, because I can't even throw a ball or a frisbee. Side note. So he has the yips, a head case. So he can't do what he's always done and what he loves to do. So he's kind of like, feeling super depressed about that too. So he moves into this tiny little town in Maine in this apartment, and hopefully nobody will know he's there, and he's just kind of fly under the radar. So that's his plan. And he's trying to figure out what to do with his future because, all he had was baseball, and now he has nothing. So Dean and Evie are both hurting from loss, and they strike up an unexpected friendship. When the friendship turns into something more, they both realize that Dean's going to move back to New York. He's not planning on living in Maine forever. He just kind of wanted to get away for a while. So that's happening. And then, like they say in life, as in baseball, there's always a chance up until the last out. So you'll have to read it and find out what happens with Dean and Evie, but they're like the most opposites attract couple, and it's just really a charming story. It's joyful, hilarious, heartbreaking, all in one. It's a debut book from this author, Linda Holmes. She's actually an NPR correspondent and a podcast host. So this is her first foray into writing fiction, and I do hope she writes another book because it was so good. And then I think fans of Jojo Moyes or Taylor Jenkins Reid will really like this book. It's very similar to that. It's gently romantic, witty, and it's just about two broken people who unexpectedly help each other to mend. And I especially loved reading the book set in Maine and with lobstermen because we go to Maine. Well, we have a couple times. My husband's family is from Maine, and we've had many a fun adventure in Friendship, Maine on the lobster wharf and on the lobster boats. So I really like reading books that take place there. It makes me want to go back. So I trust you'll love this book. I don't know why I waited so long to read it because, gosh, I couldn't put it down once I started it. It's really, really good. So Evie Drake Starts Over by Linda Holmes. Get it at your local library. There you go. All right. Now I'm going to switch gears. Here we go. I know it's not Halloween, but phew, this would be a perfect Halloween read. All right. So do you believe in ghosts? Some people are very hardcore about yes or no and why, but I don't have an opinion either way. But after reading this book, I might. So this is the latest thriller released by Riley Sager. It's called Home Before Dark, and I'm like literally this far from being done with it, but I thought I would talk it because I can't give away the ending anyway. So here we go. It's due to publish on June 30th. The other books that Riley Sager wrote are pulse-pounding, like awesome reads. There's Final Girls, The Last Time I Lied, and Lock Every Door. So you'll want to put those on your list as well. They're very good. Home Before Dark has been called the most anticipated release of the year. So I'm extremely lucky that Dutton sent me an early copy to review. Some of my friends on Bookstagram are like, how'd you get that? And I'm like, oh, I feel kind of special right now. I figured I better read this quick and then maybe I'll pass it on to somebody else. So I don't read a lot of thrillers, but I couldn't put this one down. It's rather creepy, so I had to read it more in the daytime so that I could sleep, because the one night I was reading it right before bed, and yeah, when it starts talking about creepy noises and creepy things happening in houses and night terrors, that hits close to home for me because I have night terrors. So I was like, let's just read this during the day. Okay. So, hi, Jill. Thanks for joining. All right, so here's the story. This is a story about Maggie Holt. Maggie Holt's entire life, since she was 6 years old, has been defined by the book, not the Bible, although that'd be pretty good because that would be much more wholesome, people. All right, it's a book called The House of Horrors that her own father, Ewan, wrote. Her father claims that it's a true story, and it's also the reason that her family abruptly departed for a final time. They never went back. The infamous Bainbury Hall, which is a rambling Victorian mansion in the woods of Vermont. Okay, so that right there sets the scene. Like, creepy house, old creepy house, woods, Vermont, seclusion. Ooh, okay, and there's this massive gate around the whole property. And, you know, you have to lock the gate at night so nobody gets on the property. So all these creepy things set the scene, okay? So Since the book release, Maggie has been famous for all the wrong reasons as the little girl that's portrayed in the book. And her own dad didn't even change anybody's names. Like, he claims that this was a true story. But Maggie's like, no, it's all lies. I don't remember any of that happening to me. And I think my dad just did it to make money. And it was kind of like a big con so he could write his book, because he was kind of having writer's block and didn't know, he always wanted to write the great American novel. So this was just his way to do it. So, Maggie always got asked by other kids and other people that met her, oh, what was it like living in that haunted house? And her response was always that she couldn't remember, so she doesn't have any recollection of anything happening. And she also doesn't believe in ghosts, like, period. She thinks that everything was lies. And she thinks that the book was based on lies. So she's not a big fan of the book, even though she's read it all and everybody's read the book. Everybody knows about this book. It was on 60 Minutes and all the news and, you know, uber popular for a while. And then everybody wants to see this creepy house. So the local people are like used to people sneaking onto the property and trying to see the house. They call them ghouls. All right. So present day, Maggie's father has just passed away and left her a small fortune from the book sales, also the rights to the book, and some weird turn of events. He left her Baneberry Hall, ooh, the creepy house. So Maggie's like, what the heck? I thought he sold that house because, you know, we left in a crazy, abrupt way and we never went back. So why did he keep the house? Like, we thought it was sold. So she decides that she's a restorer of old homes. So she decides she's going to go and do two things. She's going to work on the house and get it ready to sell and hopefully make some profit on it. And while she's there, she hopes to kind of figure out why her dad would make all this stuff up and why they left so quickly and what really happened there. So because her family was only there for a matter of 20 days before they moved out. Well, they didn't even move out. They just left. And some other interesting things happened around the time they left the house too, but I'm not going to tell you what those are because I don't want to give away the plot. But just trust me, it's creepy and it's good. All right, so here we go. The townspeople are not happy to have Maggie back in town because they know the Holt family. They know about the book. They think her father exploited the town. They're not fans, and they think the media is going to all come back. And so they are just not happy that she's back. So she doesn't get a very welcome reception from the people in town. When she arrives at the house, she's shocked to discover that the house is still full of like old relics from all the different families who've lived there over the years. Dating back to the original family that built the home in 1875, which is the Garson family. And there's like these creepy portraits of the original owner and his daughter and all these old like armoires and desks and just antique-y like things. And there's also things from a family called the Carvers who lived there for a very short time before a shocking tragedy occurred, which you'll find out about more later. And then her own family's belongings are still in the house. There's clothing, there's toys all over her floor of her toy room. There's just, it looks like they just like literally just walked out like to the store and we're going to come back home. So she's trying to figure out like, oh, well, maybe my dad was not kidding about us leaving really fast. Like, she doesn't really have the memory of it, but if all their stuff's still sitting there, she's like, okay. Well, then things that are described in Ewan's book in detail, like things that happen in the house, start happening to her while she's staying in this house. And she's not a wimp. Like, I would be a super wimp. I'd be out of there like at the first noise or creaky stair or whatever. I'd be like, okay, bye. I'm going to the hotel. She stays. And whenever she hears something, she assumes it's a real person. So she, runs upstairs and figures out if someone's there, or she sees somebody in the yard. She runs out there to confront them with her little kitchen knife. Okay, I would not do that, by the way. I would just run. And there's never anybody there. So she's like, okay. So she starts to question her sanity. And she also starts to question her father's memory and wonder if maybe he was telling the truth. And all this time she thought all these things were lies, but actually they really happened. So this just opens up a whole new world for her, because if the book was true, then she may have problems selling this house. All right. So another thing that sets the mood is that her father's very last words to her before he died were, "It's not safe there, not for you." So even after all that, she still goes back to the creepy house. Yeah, she's pretty brave. So I'm not going to tell you anything else about it, but it is so good. And it's a chilling, atmospheric, creepy, and well-written thriller. Like, I have no idea how it's going to end right now. I'm about, I don't know, 25 pages, 30 pages in. So I'll probably finish it maybe as soon as I'm done. But I just know it's going to be like, whoa, when I'm done with it, because his books are so good. And it's also really cool because it's told in alternating chapters between Maggie's perception of what's happening in present day, and then chapters from her father's book that the whole thing spawns from. So like it starts out with the chapter from her father's book. So you see exactly what happened in the book, and then you're also seeing the same things happening to Maggie as she's living in the house currently. So it was really well written in that way. So yeah, I really highly recommend it. It comes out June 30th. And if in the meantime you want to be scared a little more, or thrilled, I should say, you should check out Riley Sager's other books. There are 4 others you could read. They're all at the library. So there you go. Creepy book. Hello, everyone else. Barb and Jenny and Liz and Sarah. Hi, guys. So, yeah, that's all I've got. I hope you guys have a great long weekend and get some reading time in. And let me know. I'm doing some more reviews this week on my blog. Trying to think which one's coming up. Yeah, I don't know. But check it out. It's librarianlaura.com, so you can get my reviews there. And if you're on Instagram, I do a lot of Bookstagram things on there as well, and book posts. So you can find me on there at Laura Peden Jones. All right. Take care, guys. See ya, and thanks for tuning in.